This question pertains to budgets and taxes. It has long been said that budgets are statements of values, and the San Jose's budgets have a long history of heated debate. This frequently focuses on whether to cut costs and reduce city services, notably emergency services, or attempts to generate new revenues to fill the gaps through taxes and fees. In the last few decades, cuts to San Jose's budgets have left the city with one of the least attractive pension plans in the state, with many departments described by third parties as underfunded given the size of our city. Likewise, many proposals for new revenues have been discussed, including a vacancy tax, a land value tax, and other property tax roll modifications, such as the so-called split roll. In light of this, if you were required to reduce the budget, what would you look to specifically cut? And if you were required to raise revenues, what new fees or taxes would you potentially support?
Angelo? Thank you. Thank you for the question.
They've decoded the pattern.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Very tough question. Okay. I think that the model for revenue recapture is where we should look first. And I'll give you an example that we can start right now, that some of our city departments want to do right now. Currently, our EMT services are contracted through a private company. What happens is when you call 911, you roughly pay about $1,000 via insurance, and that goes to a private entity. One of the models now that happens is when we respond, when our fire department responds, 3 to 4 minutes to get to that call, and now another call comes in, and the ambulance ride hasn't shown up yet. The firefighters have to stay on scene because they have a requirement to stay with their patient. And then if they miss, and another station comes on, and they miss their call time of 3 to 4 minutes, the county charges us a fine on top of that. So because we privatized the service, which is woefully unfunded at this moment, and not providing the services that we need, we have an opportunity for revenue recapture. We bring that back underneath the city purview inside of the fire department. This handles two things. It handles recruitment inside of the fire department, because now we can recruit from cradle to grave, from starting at young EMTs, moving all the way through the fire department. And if we keep the same charging model, when someone calls 911, instead of going to a private entity, that now moves back to the city of San Jose. And San Jose can keep that in the budget, specifically earmarked for public safety itself. From a firefighter's mouth that I've heard this week, if you're going to call 911 in the city of San Jose, do it in the last week of the month, because that's when the company has to balance their books and make sure that they look okay. Public safety should not be privatized, period. End of story. And so one of the models is revenue recapture. We can do that in every single entity of the city. That's just one singular example. Thank you.
Have to wait for the two. I think one of the coolest things about District 6 is that it has so many economic engines in it. If you don't know the district as well as now we do, it's sort of south on the south end is Willow Glen, and as you kind of run up the district, you've got the airport all the way to the north. You've got Bay 101 and the Matrix Casino. You've got the Earthquakes Stadium. You've got Little Italy and the Shark Tank, right? You've got the business district of the Alameda. You've got Valley Fair. There are so many important economic engines in this district. One game of sharks generates about $2 million in spending each game. Now, if they were in the playoffs a little bit more, that'd probably be more like 3.5. But we will get back to that at some point. I'm a founding board member of Team San Jose. We're an organization that is labor, business, hotels, and arts. We did a hostile takeover of the convention center about 15 years ago or so. We basically went to the city and said, you don't know how to run your building. The generation of revenue through the convention center and the California Theater, the Civic Auditorium, the Montgomery Theater, and the Center for Performing Arts. Those are heads in beds, butts in seats, and feet on the street in our downtown. It's one of the most important economic engines we have. The more people that come to San Jose, the more spending that goes through those buildings. More planes come into San Jose, the more spending that happens here. That's how we're going to grow our way out of a budget crisis. That cutting red tape at City Hall so that we can help our businesses thrive in San Jose, get them open faster. For every day a business doesn't open in San Jose, that's 5, 10, or 15 jobs that don't generate a wage in this town.
And I think the question was, what would I cut and what would I?
Yes.
The last portion.
If you were required to reduce the budget, what would you look to specifically cut? And if you were required to raise revenues, what new fees or taxes would you potentially support?
Thank you. So I'll answer the latter. If I were required to make a tax, I'd raise revenue. So Michael's idea is right on the money. That would be something I would support. And if it would be for EMT services, I think everybody was very supportive. And as I've been knocking door to door, some of the people that I've been speaking with that were very happy because they actually didn't want Measure T originally. And once we got the fire station and realized what a great thing it was, and now that they actually saw the results of having the streets repaved, and it's only $24 a year, they would be supportive of another tax if they know that it's actually going to be implemented. They're going to see it, feel it, and touch it. As long as there's an oversight committee and they're not diverting the funds elsewhere. That's one. The first part was, what would I cut, right?
Yes.
What would I cut? So one of the things that I would cut would be unnecessary or services that would not be priority. So I would answer more as what I wouldn't cut would be the police and fire, paramedics. Those are the things that I would definitely not cut. That would be the last thing that I would cut. City services, also not, because we need those services ultimately. And also, I'd look for the emergency services to be a priority going around because we need to protect our city services. The main thing that we want to do is run a skeleton crew through the city, though. That would be the main thing if we ultimately have to cut resources. We kind of did that with COVID when a lot of people ended up going through Zoom. And I think I'm the only one so far that's actually answered that question. Sorry, I'll leave it at that because I ran out of time.
Sorry.
Well, we've got a lot of city public servants doing amazing work, but call me old-fashioned, I don't think that public servants should become wealthy working for government. And frankly, it makes me a little uncomfortable how much the city manager makes at the top of our city. The new city manager, I think, should have a reduced salary when they come in. That would be the first area that I would cut. I think it's incredibly important. If you look at the research, it shows that when you build 3- and 4-story buildings in San Jose, it actually generates positive revenue for the city. And that's why I advocate, one of the reasons why I advocate so strongly for building 3- and 4-story buildings or higher is because we need that revenue at our city. We need our city to be financially solvent. I'm worried we're going to have some tough years ahead with the budget and with our economy. So we're going to need to be as fiscally responsible as we can. We also might have to dig deep and ask all of you to be part of the solution. I've proposed, because our temperatures continue to rise in this city and in this country, I've proposed a funding mechanism to plant more trees throughout the city. I think we desperately need more trees in every part of San Jose, and I think they can bring the temperatures down and provide a lot of sociological benefits for the city too. So I would suggest some sort of funding mechanism, and I would work with the council to figure out what that would be to get that kind of thing done. I also support an empty homes fee. The revenue from those empty homes that Angelo talked about would go toward building affordable housing. The revenue from empty commercial buildings like the one I know on Heading Street and Winchester right now that's boarded up and graffitied up and burned down and not doing any good for anyone, I suggest that we put a fee on that property owner if they leave it empty year after year, and the funding go toward neighborhood improvement to improve the quality of life in that neighborhood. Thank you.